What's up and welcome to a new YouTube update, first one in a week, and I'll just start explaining a little bit why I've not been making videos in the past week, and maybe you've seen it on Twitter already. But in this update we are going to discuss Bitcoin, we're going to discuss the macroeconomics, we're going to discuss Ethereum as well on the technical side but also on the fundamental side. But before we continue, make sure that you subscribe to this YouTube channel beneath. Make sure that you follow me on Twitter and Instagram, where you can find daily content on the markets. And also make sure to definitely keep an eye on my Insta and Twitter overall for the coming week, as I'll be visiting Cape Town from tomorrow for the Future of Finance event. It's going to be alongside JJ Boske, Willem Middelkoop, Arno Wellens and some other ones. And we're going to do lots of fun stuff, but we're also going to do podcasts and even more from Cape Town. Definitely looking forward to that, given that I've never been in that part of the world. So it's going to be an experience, and I can't wait to get towards the sun and experience everything that we're going to do in the coming week. And after that, I'll also be visiting Lisbon to watch the best club of Europe. So the coming 2 weeks I will not be making too many updates at all, and the reason why I've not been making updates in the past week is something that I've been struggling with for the past months, is the fact that I've been making double updates on a date started to feel like I'm producing to just produce instead of making things that are actually fun to make and are actually valuable for myself. So the content that I have been producing might be valuable for you, but if it's a struggle for me and if I don't like to make it the way I've been doing it, there's no point in continuing doing that in the same way. So that's why I've decided to cut off the YouTube videos for now, to just have a period of time that I can reflect and that I can start thinking about the way I've been making my YouTube videos, and maybe thinking about a different strategy when I want to come back, which is in a few weeks from now. So it's a very simple reason, and I think that something that everyone should be doing is that only do stuff that you like to do. If there is a struggle, or if there is some, like for instance waking up at 7 and then having to make a video at 8 before you go to work, and then coming back from work making another video, it's not really fun to do so, and there was not much time in preparation of those YouTube videos either. It's just me sitting here saying something, while if I reflect on what has been happening in the past few weeks, I think that there's just a big gap to jump on or jump over in educational material, but also describing way more what I actually think about the markets, or explaining way more what I'm seeing in the TA, making a little bit longer videos in which you start to understand what I want to say, and I can actually still say what I want to say in a better manner. So that's what we're currently figuring out. That's also why in the coming week you'll be seeing some tweets and some posts from me for new applications. We're going to increase the staff for YouTube, we're going to increase the staff for the company in itself. And that's also why the YouTube videos are going to change at some point in time. So I'm not going to go away, but I'm going to, after a year of doing YouTube videos, I'm going to level it up towards the next level, making even better content, and making content that I actually like to do. So that's what I wanted to say at the beginning of this video. Now, when we are looking at the prices and when we're looking at the markets, we can definitely conclude that the markets are shaky. We've had a downwards move from 69k to 33, and we've also been seeing that the sentiment on the equities markets was lower than in March 2020. And because of that downwards move and the sentiment and the fact that we were into a higher time frame support level, induced a potential short squeeze to the upside, because in downwards trends you also get bounces to the upside, which we have been seeing with the recent run from Bitcoin from 33 towards even 45k. However, there's still those heavy order blocks that we are facing. So I'm not assuming that out of nowhere we're going to have a run towards the all-time highs again, as there is so much uncertainty in the markets at this point. For instance, the pandemic is still there. and we're still not really paying the bill for the insane amount of printing that we have been seeing. But because of the pandemic, we have had QE, and because of QE, the Fed is, or actually we're getting high numbers of inflation. Over here in the Netherlands, we are getting 7% plus as well. And because of the high inflation numbers, we are having fear from the Fed that they will be hiking the interest rates. And it's not really the interest rates that is going to be an issue here, but the pace of the hikes is going to be the issue. Why is that? Well, the markets in itself are already anticipating a hike in the interest rates. That's what we have been expecting since the end of last year. The news was around already. Quantitative easing slowing down is also nothing new. However, we might be getting an emergency hike rate next week, or we could be getting a heavier hike rate in March. Instead of 25 bips, we're going to have 50 bips. These two are going to put some more uncertainty and fear in the markets, and especially if we're going to get it next week, for instance, it will most likely have a shock effect into the markets. And then we also still have Russia with Ukraine, which was, well, it's already expected that we're going to have the invasion, but it slowed down a little. And then we got the news last night where every country is saying to the people that are living there, please leave, which is already saying, okay, Russia is going to invade into Ukraine. Technically, I don't know what we should be expecting from that for the markets. I think nobody knows. But if suddenly something happens, that's also going to give a shock impact on the markets in itself. And I think the markets are just going to continue, although a war is going to exist. I think that is historically proven as well. But it's difficult, and especially in these times, we are seeing all those factors of uncertainty. How does that reflect into the price action of Bitcoin? Well, we see a harsh rejection from 46k. We've seen a pretty decent correction already today and yesterday from the fact that countries are leaving out of Ukraine. We are also seeing an even heavier weakness in altcoins. What does that mean? Well, altcoins have been showing strength in the bounce upwards. However, Bitcoin has rallied from 33 to 47k and made a run of 40%. And altcoins have been doing the exact same, which says that the USD increase of the altcoins is technically only due to Bitcoin, and that nobody is actually interested in those specific altcoins at this point. As why would you want to buy altcoins when you have so many uncertainties in the markets? So the only one to focus on right now is Bitcoin, and we have rejected that on a crucial level, which we will be discussing in a little bit. And that one has to confirm that we have got a bottom, or that we are going to flip higher time frame resistance zones, and the 46k area is the first one. So we are living in those uncertainties, and that's why remaining cautious on the markets or remaining calm is technically the best way to go for, as not trading is also trading. So let's head towards the charts and discuss that a little bit more before I'm heading off towards Cape Town. So let's head towards those. So when we're looking at the actual price action of Bitcoin at this point, there's the confusion, or there's the similarities with the bottoming procedures that we've had in the summer, in which we had a pretty big impulse wave to the upside, resulting into this all-time high test here, which was a fake out, right? The difference here is that the downwards move in the summer was quite impulsive. So we had a very harsh move within 1.5 weeks, resulting into a longer period of sideways accumulation and then a big impulse wave upwards. And this impulse wave was going to happen in a very fast way, as there is not really any resistance point in between. So when we're looking at the current downwards move, we can say, hey, this was not really impulsive and just in bumps south, right? So we've had those periods of sideways action before we started to correct a little bit more. And yes, these are impulse waves, however, less impulsive than we've seen in the summer. Resulted into the weekly order block that we have been finding support on, as we can see here. However, we are also seeing a difference with this one, is that we've got this entire block here of resistance, which is going to be one of the points where traders are going to say, okay, I'm going to step out of the market here because this is a very heavy resistance point, and reflective to be taking profits, which is similar to the reaction we've seen in this block in the previous summer period. So especially with this weekly candle, we're going to seek, or we're most likely going to see a close beneath 43k, which is ultimately going to result into more downwards pressure to which I'm expecting to happen here. Unless, in the bullish case, Bitcoin claims 46k for support and comes into this range that we have been acting in for a month. If we do that, I'm assuming we're going to see more upwards momentum, and that is also the moment that I'm going to dive into altcoins again, given that we are going to reclaim higher time frame points, and we are going to find ourselves support on a higher level for Bitcoin, resulting into continuation. And such a confirmation is usually a trigger for altcoins to start doing well, and in this case, I'm going to wait for that actual result to take place in the market. And if that doesn't happen, and if Bitcoin remains beneath 46k, I think the conclusion is there that most likely we are going to get some more downwards test. Potentially we get even a test around the lows again, who knows? Or we're going to create ourselves a higher low. That's what we have to dive into when it comes to the lower time frames. But based on the weekly time frame, this is not looking too great given the rejection that we have been doing here. And based on that fact, if we lose beneath 41k for instance, I'm assuming we're going to test lower levels. So when we're looking at lower levels for Bitcoin at this point, why am I typing in the exact same? So when we dive into the daily time frame for Bitcoin, we can start seeing a few important levels overall. So we still have the 46k zone, which we have clearly rejected on. So if, and that assumption is still the same, if we want to become a truly bullish, you want to get back into this range zone that we have been acting in, right? So you want to reclaim this level, and you want to see the price action like this, because then we're going to test the other side of the range and most likely see ourselves a test at 55k. But right now, if we are looking at the daily time frame, we are also seeing a very important level that we are finding ourselves support on, and that is the area around 41k. This slight block is technically the area that you should be watching whether we find ourselves support, yes or no. If that one is going to be lost in the coming week or in the coming weeks, the entire construction is lost. So then this is literally the barrier between another test of 46k and potentially getting into that range, or dropping all the way beneath and testing lower levels. So I'm eyeing 41k for support here. If we sustain, we could be getting another test of 46k, and then we might be continuing the momentum and get a copy paste of this structure. So that is the breaker on the downside that I want to watch and to want to prevent, or I want to see sustained to prevent any further downwards momentum. If that one is lost, I think we can start concluding that we are nosediving again, and then I'm going to look first at 37k, and the second area that I'm looking at is the areas around 34k. If 41k is lost, if we hold here, we might be getting another test around the highs. Looking at the lower time frames even more, we can see that we are having some clear weakness at this stage. Now I'll just get another chart going in this way. What do we see? Well, range bound construction, right? In which we had a fake out above the recent high. We tried to break above the resistance, grabbed the liquidity, dived all the way back towards the range construction here as we've got it, right? We've got this range structure that we have been acting in. And in that case, we have also seen a rejection at the mid-range in which we started to drop even more. Right now we're just bouncing around. And if we reclaim the level at 43.2, I'm assuming we test this high, which is similar to the level that we have been stating or concluding to start sustaining as support, which is that entire block at the daily time frame, right? And that entire block is this area that we see here. So scalp wise, we might be looking at some potential longs here, but I'd rather want to focus on the higher time frames and the fundamental side of the markets to avoid any confusion for myself. Well, shortly, Ethereum, pretty much the same view. I mean, if we're looking at the weekly time frame, the altcoins have also been making a pretty nice move. Summer, impulse wave to the upside, a very harsh move to the downside again to retest some levels. Have been seeing an impulse wave back towards the all-time high because there's nothing in between. Another test, and we started to drop south, and we can see that we've got two big order blocks on a weekly time frame as resistance coming in, and that's the one that we are currently rejecting on. And in that case, I'm assuming we're going to have a longer period of sideways action before we can actually start running again, unless also Ethereum regains the level at 3.1k. Heavy support zone on the downside, and especially if we're looking at the daily time frame, we can see this clear rejection, which is a reason to remain calm. I hope you have enjoyed this update from my side. I'll be back in a few weeks, hopefully making some cool content for you once again. I'll be enjoying my time in Cape Town. Check out my Twitter and Instagram, where I'll be posting some content on what I'll be doing there. Stay tuned. I'll be sharing charts on Twitter. Have a wonderful time, and I'll see you again soon.